Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful book, and we're proud to have participated with you in this book.
Thank you. It's the author's time. And I could give an Academy Award speech where I thank everybody who's ever had anything to do with this book. But in fact, I've already done that in the acknowledgments. And so in terms of thanking people, I really want to just mention one or two people who aren't mentioned. But first, since a number of the people mentioned in the acknowledgments are actually here tonight, I'd like to help some of you put a face on some of those people. You've already met Sean and Bruce. One of the Smiths who's mentioned in the acknowledgments, my daughter Flavia, who's standing right over there. And
Hey, Flavia.
Making a video of this. Yes. One of the other people mentioned, although while he is most known in Washington as a successful lawyer and consultant, was in fact my advisor for the German language, which Pavese thankfully only used sparingly. It's my freshman college roommate and friend, Terrence Murphy. Another person in the room, if I could say it without seeming too presumptuous, the only other real Pavese scholar in this room is a man who lent me his wonderful copy of his wonderful annotated translation of Pavese's diary, which is Richard Koffler, who's sitting right over there. One person who is not mentioned in the acknowledgments, but whose influence, though it may surprise him, is quite prevalent in the book, is another friend from that wonderful class, I guess it was in 1961 at the American Studies Department, or as Harvard calls it, the History of American Civilization, which is Mike Zuckerman, who is a professor of history at the University of Pennsylvania. He is so distinguished that they're having a symposium next June at the university just to discuss the history of his work and its impact. He will be surprised to know about the influence, but there's two things about Mike's writings that have always interested me. One was Mike counts things. I've always enjoyed the way he works in quantitative data in what are essentially literary or humanistic essays. And I particularly remember, I don't know if it's a review or an essay on the secret diary of William Byrd of Westover. I'm not sure many of you have ever read. Byrd was a colonial landowner and kept the diary in code. And Mike did either review or an essay on it. What I particularly remember is Byrd had a code word for sex, which was flourish. I gave him flourish. And when he would speak, I gave a flourish to my wife. I gave a flourish to her. Mike, I remember, kind of counted how many times did wife and how many times people who were not white did the famous flourish on the billiard table. The other thing which has always interested me about Mike was his use.
I understood, Sean.
Was Mike's use, or some would say misuse, of alliteration. Read any of his works, it's there. And I want to tell you that up until the last go-around, the fourth go-around with the copy editor, I had a phrase which is now in the eighth chapter of this book, which reads, and I quote, if I can say it without twisting my tongue, Pavese of the Po permitted Pizarro in his punt. And that's a real, it makes sense in context when you know what Pizarro is, that's Tina. And I'll have to say, after many entreaties with the copy editor, I only took out one of those words. There's someone else I'd like to introduce who is not mentioned in the book, but is a first-time author herself. If I can find, the reason I do that is because she has co-authored a book which came out just about a month before mine, which is an extraordinarily handsome combination cookbook and coffee table book, which I'm only saying I'm not jealous because she's my wife's cousin and somebody who I've come to love. But it's already sold out the first edition of 40,000. Oh, wow. And the last thing in terms of acknowledgments is the I'm sure you either have figured out or will figure out to whom the book is dedicated. It's dedicated to MTS. For those of you who haven't figured that out, that's Marguerite Terrence Smith.